Witch of Moon's Lane presents
How to Witch, bitch.
Welcome to How to Witch, bitch. Our first episode, a podcast learning all about the witchcraft, everything about what is witchcraft, what are witches, who are you, the Witch of Moon's Lane, Michelle. Now tell me, I've always wanted to ask you this question. How did you know you were a witch? Or are you just born with it and you just go with it?
Well, lots of different witches come to witchcraft in a totally different way. In fact, some witchcraft witches don't even do witchcraft.
Yeah.
They are just pagan witches, and they just sort of like follow Mother Earth. So they follow all the Sabbaths, and but they don't actually do spell work. And it's really funny when people say spells, what's that about? And I always say, well, you do it every day, spelling. There you go. So often when we say things about other people, maybe negative or positive, that sort of affects the energy level that's going around. So often I will catch myself and I might say something because they go, oh, you're a black witch. And I go, well, sometimes I do have negative, and I always send a white cross after it, which basically means I cancel that out. So I am human, and I do have times where I will go, and I might have a nasty thought, but I send it straight away with a cross. Cancel that one out.
Wow.
But for me personally, my parents were ghost hunters. So that's how they met. They met over a grave, which is really strange.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I know. And then as they got together, lucky for me, I must have been very psychic because I was very tiny and they said that I was premature, but I actually worked out that they were being very naughty in the 60s. My dad was a rocker and my mother was a mod, and they both were into the supernatural, and that's how they met. So they met over a grave, and they were with a group where they were doing things where they were bringing in what we call mediumship, where you actually turn into somebody else. I know I do that as well. I know it's creepy, but it's a lot of fun.
That's cool.
And so they moved when I was very young into a house in Christchurch where they lived upstairs, and downstairs was Mrs. Frew, and she was basically witches. Not witches, she was basically Christchurch's psychic. And so she used to come, a little cab would come, and she'd get in a little cab and she'd go off and do her parties, and she'd do her crossing over shows, and she'd come back, and she would even mind me sometimes, and she would sort of say, have a twinkle in her eye, Mum said that this one's going to be special. And they would hear footprints going up, and their whole house was haunted, and they didn't know if it was Mrs. Frew or if it was them because of what they used to do. And so they were never really into witchcraft, but when I was 15, I had been very much a born-again Christian, and I was doing all of that, and I was just sort of and as in a way it kind of saved me because I didn't become a rebel, so I was always at Sunday school with my little Bible, and it just didn't sort of resonate with me. And because I had this other side where I was sort of psychic, and I was sort of being told that was demon worshipping, and I didn't believe that to be so. I then started looking at other various religions, and so I sort of started looking at Buddhism, and then I went into all types of different things. And the one that sort of really worked for me was I found this beautiful, if you wanted to become a witch, you needed a wand. And so to have a wand, you needed to go up to a beautiful tree of your choice and ask her for a wand. And if she believed you to be a witch, she would drop a branch.
And did that happen?
And that happened. And so
How old were you then?
I was 15.
So you chose it?
I chose it.
So tell me, though, I want to go back to the born-again Christian stuff because that's just fascinating. So your parents are ghost hunters.
Yep.
You're living with the psychic from Christchurch.
Yeah.
How do you get into born-again Christian?
Okay. So around about when I was two and a half, my parents split up.
Okay.
And my father remained in Christchurch, and my mother went on a holiday to Australia. Mm-hmm. And so on her holiday, she met my stepfather. And so technically, now this is a whole new story here. So technically, they met, fell in love, and he said to her, well, I will raise her as my own if you bring her over. So then my father then decided to kidnap me, and that's a whole new thing. Yeah, I can.
This is
So
great.
I travelled everywhere with him until I was found. And then I used to live with my grandmothers, and then my grandmother rang my mother and said, come and get us. So then at 7 I came to Australia.
And that's where she had turned to religion, your mother?
Well, yeah, she married my stepfather, whose mother was a Catholic.
Right, okay.
And so from there it was very much about we went to church, and so that sort of turned into...
So from a very young age, your parents meet over a grave, everything else, everything has been leading you towards a type of religion.
Yes.
Because you were going from all extremes.
Yeah.
So then you make the choice to go with witchcraft.
I did.
Is that what you call it? Is that the technical name? Or
Well-
is it actually a religion?
Well, there is different things. So I actually decided to go with what we call Wicca. So Wicca was actually brought back from in about the 1950s by Gerald Gardner, and he sort of brought back all the old because this is going to blow your mind. Okay, so witchcraft and even psychics were against the law up until the 1950s, 60s. And so everything went underground, and it wasn't until Gerald Gardner came in and decided, I like this. I want to be a witch. And yes, men can be witches too.
Okay.
So there's actually no such thing as a warlock. That's all.
Is there not?
No.
It's very Lord of the Rings,
We're
isn't
all
it?
witches.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And so he sort of went back and realised that witchcraft was very much underground, but it was still around, and that it was okay for people to start coming out. But even now it's still very much underground. People are sort
It's
of
all
not
very dark. It's all very hidden, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, we are actually sitting in your shop in Carrara Markets on the Gold Coast, not hidden very much. And you being so open about being a witch, then when I introduce you, this is my witch friend. Like that's actually pretty much what I call you. So everything's underground. Then it becomes more popular in the 50s, moves forward. And, I mean, witchcraft has been around since day dot. Mm-hmm. But there has been such a negative thing to it as well.
Well, a lot of witches don't practice witchcraft as well. They're very much, as I said before, they're just more reverent with the what's around them. Then you have witches that are like kitchen witches, and they just believe in creating beautiful things. I believe you're a kitchen witch.
I like that. It's better than a kitchen bitch.
Ever heard about throwing salt over your left shoulder?
Yes.
Okay, for protection.
Yes.
That's where it comes from. A
Wow.
lot of things we have in the society, general things like blowing out your candles on your cake.
Yeah.
Making a wish. What are you doing?
That's all from witchcraft.
Right, you're
Absolutely.
creating. So it's very much about positive thinking. That's got a lot to do with witchcraft as well.
Yeah.
Spelling, again. So it all comes back down when you actually go right down to the roots of where it was. I mean, about 25,000 years ago, there's even sort of acknowledgement, that there was witches around. They could have been wise women that sort of were very much into herbs and making herbs, which kind of goes back to the kitchen witch, because a lot of us are actually kitchen witches.
So
describe
what a
not
kitchen.
even know you're a kitchen
What's a
witch.
kitchen witch?
Okay, so a kitchen witch is basically putting love into her food, and she's putting certain spices in. Well, each spice that you're putting in definitely has a lot of magical benefits for it. So you're actually creating as you're cooking.
Yeah.
And so
you're feeding people, therefore. Yeah, okay, I see how that works.
Therefore, and you're throwing salt over your shoulder, which is basically keeping the old spirits out. That's where it comes from. So there is kitchen witching. Then there is hedge witching. Then there is sea witches that basically they sort of have an affinity with the sea. Now, some of them do witchcraft, some of them don't. They just sort of have an association with the sea. They're very empathetic. They're very much about, psychic, and they just naturally call themselves a witch, but they don't actually do the craft. So Gardner, Wiccan, they do the craft.
Okay.
So they're very much about doing the spirits, opening the circle, bringing in the gods. And depending on where you're living, it depends on the type of gods you're going to bring forward as well.
Do you have to be psychic to be a witch?
No.
But you've got a double up.
I got a double up.
You're kind of like the triple threat.
Yeah.
Witch, bitch. No. Okay, so if someone is
What does that say about you?
Nothing. If someone wants to, listening today, is interested in, obviously they're listening for a reason, they are interested in witchcraft, what is the first step of looking into, is it looking into the Wicca religion, or is it looking into what kind of witch you are, or figuring out what you're led to. Like you said, the sea, the
That's right.
the
So
hedge.
it comes up with what's an affinity of yours? What do you feel drawn to? I mean, there's a lot of eclectic witches as well, which is basically taking a little bit of everything and throwing it together. You've probably heard of green witches. They're more sort of herb lore or the old herbologists, that type of thing. They're sort of along the line of kitchen witches and head witches as well. Then you would have maybe a red witch, which is maybe going on to fire. So she's more like a fire witch. So she sort of does more of the fire sort of, more candles when she's doing her spells. Sea witches use shells and they use different types of sand and they might incorporate candles as well. They might incorporate something else. So it's
what
just
kind of
depends.
witch are you? You're all of them.
I am.
Yeah, you are?
I'm a fire witch.
Okay.
Really.
So
if you
what
want to
does
get
that
down.
mean?
I'm actually a black witch, fire witch.
What does that
and
mean?
And so when I say black witch, and everyone, that's why a lot of people go, "You're white, aren't you?" And I just say yes, because that means that you're good.
Yeah.
But I'm actually a black witch. And the reason why I'm a black witch is because the black witches know black and white, so that if you come to me and you've got a problem, I can go in and solve it because I know what black witchcraft is.
Right.
So that's where I then go into hoodoo and my voodoo, and I bring you my voodoo dolls.
Yes, you do. We put curses on people and it's fun. No, it's not. I did not mean that.
I follow you around doing those white
Do you? Okay.
those white crosses behind
crosses
Maura,
behind
because I
me?
know what she's doing. Cancel that one out. Cancel that one out, Maura. Cancel that one out.
So do you, like, when do you decide you are that witch, or are you chosen to be that witch, or how does that work? Where you say, I'm actually a black witch. Is that your decision?
Well, basically, I really for me, I went and I actually asked this beautiful tree for a branch, and I waited, and she dropped a branch. And so I gave her a cuddle. So have you ever seen people hugging trees? Yeah.
You're a tree hugger as well.
Yeah, I'm a tree
Okay.
hugger as well. So I hugged her, I thanked her. And so that day I actually went home, and they say, when you have your first wand, you're meant to sort of create it, make it beautiful, however that is. You can paint it different colours, you can put sprinkles on it, you can put a crystal on it. And so that's what I did. And it was really strange because that afternoon I was making a wand and it was really beautiful. And I just put it outside and I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. And that particular night, my mother and stepfather were having a party.
Right.
And they came out and all of a sudden there was about 4 crows, and they all just came down and they just sat in the tree and they started crowing. And one of them said as a joke, "Oh, there must be a witch around." And
Wow.
my mother looked at me because she knew I was doing something, and she looked at me and I just sort of like, ah.
How old are you then?
I was 15.
Wow. So from then, that wand, what happens with that wand?
Well, then that wand then became part of, I did an altar, and then I put the wand was the first to go on. And so then, depending on what type of witch you are, depending on if you're actually even going to be doing spell work. So you can work as solitary witch where you just do things on your own and you just put small circles around what you're creating for that time frame. Or you could have a coven where you could have other people coming through, and we open a circle and we close the circle and we call in, the 5 deities. Well, the main 5 deities are basically go into astrology, if you want to go into astrology, because I do that as well, is basically your air, your earth, your fire, and you've got your spirit and water. So they're all attributed to astrology, but they are basically the 5 points of your pentagram. Okay, now the top of the pentagram is spirit.
Right.
Okay, and then you have your air and your earth and your water and your fire. And so depending on whether it's a point where spirit comes in first, or you flip it where spirit is at the bottom.
Right.
So that's where that Hollywood turned that into into Satan.
There is a lot
devil.
of the stuff that we have obviously seen through pop culture, through movies, through everything else, that is not true. That is not the stuff that we've seen in the movies. Therefore, so everyone has that perception, I think, with the dark arts, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's a negative to you, or do you kind of like the fact that there's a bit of a untruth to it so you can prove to people that it's wrong? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I think it's funny when people get to know me and they know the type of person I am, because the type of work that I do is very much about, caring for others and helping others. And so then when you throw the witch on top of that, they go, hey, but you don't look like a witch. You don't seem like a witch.
And that's the thing. We have that
negative
idea of a witch over a cauldron, old lady, big nose, wart on her nose, everything else.
Yeah.
That's everything that you're not except for the cauldron.
Yeah.
That I think that's the interesting part, is that knowing you and having known you as a witch and a friend, you're absolutely nothing like what I perceived a witch to be. But therefore witches aren't what we think they are.
And, you could be living right next to one.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily have to have to dress in black, although I do because I just love that colour anyway. Yeah. They don't necessarily have to dress in black. They could be in all colours.
Yeah.
And they might be very solitary. You might never find out that they do Wicca or they're a witch. They might be very open with it. They could also, because there's a lot of witches that are witches that work in my field, but they don't come out with witches. They might call themselves, a butterfly happiness or happy this, and it's very light. Whereas I've come in right in with this is who I am, and I've never shied away from that, and I've been doing that for many years because that is who I am. I want to be authentic. I want you to know who I am. So yes, as much as I've done this since I was 15, and at that time I was a born-again Christian, so I was actually still getting onto my Bible bus on the Sunday.
With your wand? Did you take your wand?
No, I had my Bible. But I actually did like I started liking the story of Solomon and how he actually did consult a witch. So there is some stuff in the Bible.
In the Bible. So that was your favourite bit?
That was my favourite bit.
You put a little post-it note in there. Oh, I like that bit.
I like that bit. Well, we'll be looking up that later. But to me, it was more about witchcraft. To me, was more of not trying to hurt others. And yes, you do have the hexing and you do have all of that. For me, it was more about how can I attribute mindset or mind thinking, because that's basically what I'm doing. When I'm over my cauldron and I'm making a spell, I'm putting in different types of herbs. I'm I'm creating through love positivity, because to me it was all about how can I enhance something to make it better. That was my intention.
I think that's what people think about witches, that it's all about curses and this and that and spells to hurt people, but there's actually such a beauty to it as well.
Yes.
And it is about taking care of people.
Yeah.
And I think for you as well, the readings are, some people need to know that there's hope. Some people need to know, and that's a positive. That's the thing that people need from you, is they need to know that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's why they come to you.
Yeah. And so sometimes too, what a reading is for me is, I do past, present and future, and whoever is in the room as well, like a passed over loved one, or if there's a guardian there, and I can talk to them as well. But often it's a case of, sometimes it's a shit show. It just is. And it's really, for me, it's my job to say, listen, if we go this way, we can make things better at the end of the day. But if you continue along this line, this is what it is. It's really about choices, and I show them the different choices that they can make. So for me, it's really sort of helping them. So I guess another way you could call me a life coach as well.
That's
because
kind of what I'm thinking, is that the witch thing that we have, that thought of the spells and dark arts and everything else, I see it as, having got to know you and being really interested in this as well, is that you bring out you're finding things that people don't want to, like when we do readings on the radio, we're telling them something. Yeah. You're actually telling them something. Yeah. You need to change this, and they just keep on blocking you every single time. Yeah. And that's the positive of the witch, is that it is bringing in goodness, and it's bringing in good things, and all of these things that we look at, all the crystals, everything else, are aiding people. Yes, in a way.
That's right.
So witch, life coach, bitch. What else was it? Astrology, everything like that. Are you exhausted? You must be exhausted.
It's just I've got so many interests, and that's interesting too. Like when you go to say someone for a reading, you have to have an affinity with them, and they are very different. Not only do they have different personality, they have different attributes that they like. Some work with crystals, some don't. So it's just really, if you have a rapport with that person, I feel comfortable in sharing, who I am and my problems. So therefore, I need some help. And sometimes you can't do that with a family member or even a friend.
Exactly. And I think that's the part of the witch that I love, is that people come to you. They're not coming to you because everything's going really well. No. They're not like, hey, I've just won the lottery, everything's awesome, let's go see a witch and get a reading. It's usually there's something going on.
Yeah.
So there is an essence of you helping them, being that light for them as well.
Yeah. Well, I've had some times too when people have come in and I've said, I can see you in New York and I can see you walking around and buying some great things for yourself. And they've said to me, but I'm totally broke. That's not going to happen. And funny enough, one of those people actually won your trip.
On the radio
Says,
station.
oh, my
Yep.
God. I said, can I use that? She goes, yeah.
She won a trip to New York,
yeah,
and that was actually the one who came to you and then. Isn't that funny? That's amazing, though.
Yeah. And then there was another lady that came in as well, and I said, look, I just see someone showing up at your door, and I don't know why, but I see you on TV, and I see that, your money troubles are going to be fine. Well, she ended up being on Channel 9.
Oh, don't tell me she won the cash cow.
Yes!
Oh.
Because everyone goes, well, how come you're not winning the lotto? And I
That's
go,
the one thing that would
always
annoy me
laugh.
the most, yeah.
And I say, I said, if I won the lotto, do you think that I would be here?
Exactly.
No.
This
I
whole
wouldn't.
thing would go.
That's right. So I wouldn't be here. And so obviously I always believe in karma, as you do, and I think that I must have killed a Chinaman in my last life or something must have happened.
A whole busload,
A whole
actually.
busload. Here we are.
Here we are together.
Here we are today.
Yes.
But you know what? If I didn't have this, I don't think my life would be as full because I wouldn't meet the people that I meet. And I absolutely love what I do. And I think that's also, it's not work for me.
No.
I love it.
You are this witch. You are this person who helps people, who tries to find light, who tries to learn more. You seem very, if you're 15 and you're looking at, even though you're with a Bible and you've got a wand at the same time, you're very curious. Have you always been like that?
Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
And it's also too like tarot. Like often people say, well, if you're meant to do tarot, you're meant to have tarot will arrive on your door.
What does that mean?
And so it means if you're meant to sort of be a psychic, because there's tarot readers and there's psychic tarot readers. So
Okay, what's the difference?
Okay, so I'm a psychic tarot reader, which means I channel, so I hear. So I am a clairaudient, I'm a medium, and so I will hear. So as I'm doing the cards, I'm also hearing information as well. And so for me, a card that may be in a book may be this is for that. For me, I'll read that and I'll read more into it because
Okay.
I'm also psychically channeling it.
Yep.
But if you're meant to be a tarot reader, the old gypsy law is that a deck of tarot will show up at your door.
Did that happen to you?
And that happened to me.
How did that happen to you?
So I was out at a party. Now I must have been about 24 and I was sort of, when I say party, I was hanging around a cemetery. So I was in a cemetery.
What a hoot.
And there was a whole lot of us.
Right, okay.
And there was fabulous nightclubs on either side of us. But no, I wasn't there.
So you found your people by this stage. You found your people, okay.
I found all these vagrants and anyway, off we went. I conned them into all going to a cemetery with me. See, you always go back to your roots. I thought it was just like my mother.
Sounded like your mum.
Anyway, we were around there. We were doing all this, and there was a tarot reader there, and she said, "Oh, would you give me a reading?" And so I remember my first reading was actually on a grave.
Oh my God!
Can you believe that?
No, actually, I can believe that. I can.
And anyway, she said to me, because I was using her cards, she said to me, you're fabulous at that. You know how to read them really. That's the best reading I've ever had. And I just went, oh, okay. And so I went off and I told an old friend of mine who I'd grew up with, and he found it hilarious. And so now this will throw you again. So on the 31st of March, 1994,
Okay.
he bought me a book of the very first cards, which I still use today, and he put them at my front door. Now, we then go to 2000.
Yeah.
My daughter was born on that very day.
The 31st of March.
Yes.
Right.
My first daughter.
And is she, do you think, also going to follow?
She is very much like me, yes.
Do you think it is actually something that has been passed through generations?
Well, yeah, so my mother was, and looking back, her mother also very much was, but her mother was actually a school teacher, IS, or she was also Bible study. So she very much was into the church, but on the weekends, she was very much about...
She was at the cemetery.
No, but she could feel things and see things and all of that as well. But she was always a little bit scared of it because, you're talking about the 50s and 60s here. We're talking about very closeted guarded,
Yeah.
that type of thing. You wouldn't tell anyone, you'd sort of be, looked at differently, I guess. And so she never really sort of said that. She had those very funny Nana glasses
love
that
them.
you had, very
Yeah.
Coronation Street living. Yeah, nice little hats, the pillow hats, and that very, very well-to-do woman. She ended up working as a lawyer secretary and all of that. And so, so she's not going to come out and say, but on the weekend, I did Sunday school and then I went home and I saw a ghost. Just... And then I started talking to a dead person.
Yeah, and then I went and baked some cookies for the bake sale.
Yeah, that's it. Threw a bit of salt over my shoulder
But
and
how
away we
good,
go.
though, that's 3 generations. So 3 generations and now your daughter as well.
Yeah.
But how easy it is for you now than it would have been for her, like you said.
Oh.
She would have been, it would have been hidden and Wicca coming out in the 50s.
Yep.
Therefore more accepted.
Yep.
What do you think about people who refuse to believe?
Well,
Because you would find that a lot.
yeah, oh gosh, yes. But I always believe in holding space for people. So I always look at it this way. You can't expect, you wouldn't go up to a kindergartner and say, why don't you know X, Y, and Z? You would just hold space for them to learn in their own time. And I always believe that we are always students as well as teachers. So I'm still learning, as I go. And I think that the minute you stop learning, then forget it.
Yep.
Might as well just, daisies up.
Yep.
But I feel that for her and for me, I think you're right. I think I've come out in a time where it's more accepted. It's still very much underground, but it's definitely more accepted.
Do you find people who question you? Do you find people who say, I don't believe this is rubbish? And I mean, here we are, we're on the Gold Coast in the Carrara markets and we're in a dark shop with crystals and cats and cauldrons and everything else. Do you get those? I can only imagine the people who would walk past and go, what a load of rubbish.
Well, I have had a lady come in. I've actually had a few, but I've had this one where she came in and she suddenly decided that the devil was attacking her and she went, oh, and then she actually fell out of the shop and hit her head. And I was rushed out there. I'm so sorry, da-da-da. And she was like, don't touch me. She really thought that I was the devil and I was very much adamant I wasn't, but I sent somebody else over to help her.
Yeah.
But she believed in her mind, and this is the belief system is so strong, if fear is your belief, then fear will find you. But you can create anything in that space. And that's why I'm saying you've got to be very careful with your words. They spell. They basically can create for you. So you can create that environment of living in fear and that I'm the devil. But the funny thing is witches don't believe in devils. So that's all Christian too.
Back to your Bible.
Yeah, back to the Bible. So, again, we don't believe in the devil.
So what do you believe in then?
Well, we believe in karma and we believe in light and dark, and it depends on what type of person you are. So
Do you believe in God?
So I believe in a higher force. Yes,
But it doesn't have a name.
it doesn't have a name.
And is that with
I
your
don't
religion?
believe, and I don't believe he's a sex either. I don't believe that energy.
We
is
all know it's a woman.
yeah.
Absolutely. Seriously. Come on.
Well, then I want her to know about menopause, and I want to have a word with her. Her and I got to have some words.
So you believe in a higher a higher power. Mm-hmm. Is this just you or is this witches in general?
No. So there we go back to each
Everyone
witch
is different. Okay.
And again,
You're your own witch bitch.
Look, I take people as they are. They're good and bad. Look, everybody has to be judged as they are, not their colour or their creed or who they are and what they do. Are they a good person? I'm a good person because I choose to be a good person and I'm not living in fear. People I know, some of them aren't very good people at all, but they live in fear. And so because it's fear of karma or retribution from God, is they are good people for that reason.
We've covered a lot in our first episode.
I know we have.
We've got graves, we've got Bibles, we've got wands, we've got I don't even know what else.
Oh my God, if you're still here, congratulations.
There is plenty more as well. Our next episode, we are going to talk about things like the tools of the trade, so your cauldrons, your crystals, back to the wands, all that kind of stuff, because obviously we all have an idea of what it all is. Let's figure out exactly what it is and how to witch, bitch.
Yep.
Fantastic. Perfect. All right, any questions or anything like that you'd like us to maybe unpack with Michelle, leave a message in the comments. But thank you for listening. Michelle, thank you for sharing.
Thank you. This has been a lot of fun.
Woodwork Podcasts.